The sun was falling behind the ragged blue teeth of the Chiricahua Mountains when Eli Calder eased his gate shut and leaned on the post, listening to the wind comb the dry grass. The ranch had gone quiet in a way that felt final. No lowing of cattle anymore, no iron-shod hooves thudding past the barn. Just the hush of dust and the rasp of cicadas. His last horse stood tied to the rail, head low, ribs showing through a coat dulled by hard miles. A bay mare named Mercy, because Eli believed a man should name things after what he hoped to keep. He had not meant to be the last rancher in this valley. When he rode in 10 years ago, the land was a promise. A ribbon of water ran through cottonwoods, and the grass reached a horse's knees. He built his house from juniper logs and broke ground with his own hands. He married, buried, rebuilt, and watched neighbors drift away like smoke. War took some. Drought took more. The rest sold and fled east or north where rain fell more often and the ground didn't seem to remember old griefs. Eli stayed because he was stubborn and because Mercy needed him. Or maybe because the land did. He heard them before he saw them, soft steps in the grass, a whisper of movement like deer passing through brush. Eli straightened, one hand resting on the rail, the other hovering near the worn grip of his revolver. He did not draw it. He knew better than to spook the dusk. 2 girls stepped out from the cottonwoods. They were young, older than children, younger than women, faces wind-burned and eyes sharp with the knowledge of hunger. Their hair hung long and dark, braided with scraps of cloth. Each wore moccasins patched with care, and the dresses they had sewn were thin against the cooling air. They stopped at the edge of the yard, close enough that Eli could see the dust on their calves, the careful way they held themselves ready to run. "Evening," Eli said, keeping his voice level. "You're a long way from water." The taller girl met his gaze without fear. "We know where the water is," she said. Her English was plain, learned the hard way. "Our horses died." Eli swallowed. Drought had a way of making liars out of maps. "I have a well," he said. "And some cornmeal. Not much else." The shorter girl glanced at Mercy and then back to Eli. "We need a horse," she said. "To get home." Eli's eyes went to the mare. Mercy lifted her head as if she felt the weight of the moment. The wind shifted, carrying the smell of dust and iron. "How far?" Eli asked. 2 days, the taller girl said. "If we go fast." Eli looked at the barn, empty stalls, the marks where saddles used to hang. He looked at the house, where a single lamp burned behind a window, and remembered a woman's laughter and the way she'd scold him for taking on other people's trouble. He remembered the promise he'd made at her grave to keep what was left alive. "What are your names?" he asked. "I am Nalin," the taller girl said. "This is Sela." Eli nodded. "I'm Eli Calder." They stood in silence. Coyotes yipped in the distance, testing the night. "I can't sell her," Eli said finally. "I don't have anything else." Nalin's jaw tightened. Sela's eyes went wet, though she did not cry. "We can trade," Nalin said. She reached into a pouch and pulled out a small bundle. When she opened it, the evening light caught a necklace of bone and turquoise, polished smooth by hands and time. "This was my mother's." Eli shook his head. "I don't want your keepsakes." Sela took a step forward. "Our father is strong," she said. "He will pay you when we return." Eli met her gaze. He thought of men who promised payment and never came back, and of others who came back with rifles and papers that took land without asking. He thought of Mercy, who had carried him through storms and chased thieves and stood steady when the world tipped. "Take the horse," he said. Nalin's eyes widened. "You don't know." "I know enough," Eli said. He untied Mercy and brought her forward, resting his forehead against the mare's warm neck for a moment longer than necessary. "She'll carry you. She knows the trails." He saddled Mercy and cinched tight. He packed the last of his cornmeal and a water skin. He pressed his hat into Nulin's hands. "Wear it in the sun," he said. "It's better than nothing." Sella reached out and touched Mercy's muzzle, whispering something in her own tongue. The mare flicked an ear, patient as ever. Nulin mounted, then reached down to pull Sella up behind her. Before they turned away, Nulin leaned forward and placed the bone turquoise necklace on the rail. "For your kindness," she said. "We will not forget." Eli did not try to give it back. He watched them ride into the cottonwoods, Mercy's hooves soft on the earth, until the night swallowed them. He slept poorly. Dreams came thick and sour, of riders cresting hills, of the sound of drums carried on the wind, of Mercy calling for him from far away. He woke before dawn to a hush that felt expectant. The sky was pale, the stars fading. He stepped out onto the porch with a cup of bitter coffee and froze. They came like a river, dark shapes flowing out of the hills and spreading across the valley. 200 warriors, their horses moving as one body, the earth trembling under their approach. They wore paint and feathers, carried lances and rifles, and their eyes caught the new light like flint. At their head rode a man with gray threaded through his hair, shoulders broad as a bear's, posture straight as a young man's. He raised a hand, and the column slowed, then stopped, 100 paces from Eli's fence. Eli set the cup down and took a breath that tasted of dust. He walked to the gate and rested his hands on the post, just as he had the night before. The man dismounted and walked forward alone. He stopped a few yards from the fence, studying Eli with a face that had seen more winters than Eli could count. "I am Tall Cloud," the man said in English touched by another rhythm. "You gave your horse to my daughters." Eli nodded. They needed her. Tall Cloud's gaze moved to the empty rail, then back to Eli. "That horse was your life." Eli shrugged. "She was my friend." A murmur rippled through the warriors. Tall Cloud lifted a hand and silence returned. "My daughters returned at night," Tall Cloud said. "The mare carried them like the wind. She did not stumble." Eli felt a tightness ease in his chest. "That's Mercy." Tall Cloud's mouth curved, just barely. "We came at dawn because we wanted to look at the man who gives away his last horse." Eli waited. He did not reach for his revolver. He thought of Mercy under the girl's hands, of her ears flicking to their voices. Tall Cloud stepped closer. "This valley has blood in it," he said. "It remembers wrongs. Men have taken without asking. They have burned and broken. When my daughters came to you, you could have taken from them. You did not." Eli spread his hands. "I don't take from people who have less than me." Tall Cloud studied him a moment longer. Then he reached into his own pouch and drew out a strip of red cloth. He tied it around the fence post, a mark bright against weathered wood. "This fence stands," Tall Cloud said. "Your house stands. Your well stands. No Apache hand will harm what you have." A breath Eli hadn't known he was holding slipped free. He nodded, because words felt too small. "But," Tall Cloud went on, "this land is tired. It needs more than one man." He turned and called out. 2 figures broke from the line and rode forward. Nulin and Sella dismounted near the gate, Mercy between them, ears forward. Eli's throat tightened at the sight of the mare, dust-streaked and alive. Nulin smiled, a quick flash. "She is strong," she said. She knew where to go. Sella held out a bundle. Inside were seeds, corn, beans, squash, wrapped in cloth. "From our fields," she said. "Plant them by your water." Tall Cloud gestured to the valley. "We will graze here in winter," he said. "We will help you mend your well. We will trade meat for grain. You will not be alone." Eli looked past Tall Cloud at the warriors, at the horses stamping and snorting, at the valley that had been empty for too long. He felt the land shift under his boots, as if it were listening. "I don't know how to farm with others," Eli said honestly. Tall Cloud's eyes softened. "Neither did we," he said. "We learned." The days that followed were like a second spring. Apache camps rose near the river, orderly and clean. Men and women worked side by side, mending the well with stones hauled from the hills, deepening it until cool water flowed steady again. Eli showed them where the best grass had been before the drought. They showed him how to read clouds and listen to the ground. Mercy came back to him, ribs filled out with better feed, eyes bright. Nalin rode her sometimes, light as a bird. Sela preferred to walk, learning the names of plants and their uses from Eli, laughing when he mispronounced words and correcting him with patience. Not everyone welcomed the change. One afternoon, a rider came hard from the west. Cole Hatcher, a cattleman with a reputation for taking what he wanted and calling it law. He reined in at Eli's gate, eyes flicking to the camps and the warriors moving like shadows. "You've made yourself a nest of trouble," Hatcher said. "Army won't like this." Eli met his gaze. "The army doesn't come here anymore." Hatcher spat. "They will when someone tells them." Tall Cloud appeared at Eli's shoulder without a sound. He did not threaten. He simply stood. Hatcher's eyes narrowed. "You think numbers make you safe?" Tall Cloud answered in his own tongue, calm and measured. Nalin translated. "He says safety comes from respect." Hatcher laughed, sharp and mean. "I'll be back." He was. 3 nights later, shots cracked from the hills, bullets whining through the cottonwoods. Apache sentries answered with warning calls. The camps moved with practiced ease, women and children to the riverbank, warriors melting into the dark. Eli took cover by the well, heart pounding. He did not see Tall Cloud until the old man was beside him, rifle steady. "Do not fire unless you must," Tall Cloud said. Hatcher's men pushed too far, confidence making them careless. Horses screamed. The night swallowed them, and when dawn came, the hills were quiet again. Hatcher's body was found by the trail, his rifle broken, his hat gone. No one spoke of it. After that, the valley learned a new rhythm. The seeds sprouted. The river ran clearer. Eli's house filled with voices and the smell of cooking. He built another room. He learned songs that named the stars. One evening, as the sun bled into the mountains, Tall Cloud sat with Eli on the porch. Mercy grazed nearby, flicking her tail. "You could have died the night my daughters came," Tall Cloud said. "Or this morning when we rode in." Eli nodded. "I know." Tall Cloud looked out over the fields, green and stubborn. "You chose a harder path." Eli smiled, tired and full. "Seems like the right one." Tall Cloud reached into his pouch and pulled out the Bonan turquoise necklace. He placed it around Eli's neck. "It belongs where it was given," he said. Eli's eyes burned. He did not speak. When winter came, the camp stayed. Snow dusted the hills. Mercy carried children on her broad back, patient as ever. The valley held. And when strangers passed through, they saw a ranch that stood not alone, guarded not by fences and guns but by a promise kept at dusk, when a man gave away his last horse and gained a people at dawn.